Hi, Dad. Can we talk about my career for a minute?
Of course, sweetie. What's on your mind?
Well, I've been thinking a lot lately about what I want to do with my life, and I'm not really sure.
That's okay, honey. You don't have to have everything figured out yet. What are some of the things you're considering?
I've been interested in a few different things, but I'm not sure which one to pursue. I've thought about becoming a teacher, or maybe working in marketing, or even starting my own business.
Those are all great options. Have you done any research or talked to anyone in those fields to get a better idea of what they're like?
Yeah, I've looked up some information online and talked to a couple of people, but I still feel like I don't have a good sense of what the day-to-day work is like.
Well, one thing you could try is doing some job shadowing or informational interviews with people who work in those fields. That could give you a better sense of whether they might be a good fit for you.
That's a good idea. I'll look into that. But I'm also worried about finding a job that will pay well and allow me to support myself.
That's definitely a valid concern. Have you looked into the job outlook and salary ranges for the different careers you're considering?
A little bit, but I'm not really sure what to make of all the information out there.
It can be overwhelming, for sure. One thing to keep in mind is that salary isn't the only factor to consider when choosing a career. You also want to think about whether the work is fulfilling and whether it aligns with your values and interests.
That's true. But it's also hard not to worry about money, especially with how expensive everything is these days.
I understand that, and it's important to be practical about these things. But remember, you're still young and you have time to figure things out. And there are also ways to make a living doing things you love, even if they don't pay a ton of money.
That's a good point. I just feel like there's so much pressure to have everything figured out already.
I know it can feel that way, but trust me, you're not alone. Most people don't have everything figured out at your age, or even at my age. The important thing is to keep exploring and trying new things until you find something that feels right.
Okay, I'll try to remember that. Thanks for talking to me about this, Dad.
Of course, honey. I'm always here to support you, no matter what you decide to do with your life. Have you thought about what kind of work environment you might like?
Not really. What do you mean?
Well, some people thrive in fast-paced, high-pressure environments, while others prefer a more relaxed, laid-back atmosphere. It's important to think about what kind of work environment you would be most comfortable and productive in.
That's a good point. I think I'd like a job where I can work with people and feel like I'm making a difference, but I'm not sure what kind of environment that would be.
That's a good starting point. Have you considered jobs in the nonprofit sector, where you could work for a cause you're passionate about?
That's an interesting idea. I haven't really thought about that, but I'll definitely look into it.
It might be worth exploring. And there are also companies in the private sector that prioritize social responsibility and making a positive impact, so that could be another avenue to consider.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll keep an open mind and do some more research.
That's all you can do, and remember, it's okay if it takes time to find the right path. It's better to take the time to figure things out than to rush into something you're not sure about.
Thanks, Dad. I appreciate your advice.
Anytime, sweetheart. I just want you to be happy and fulfilled in your career, whatever that may be.
I know, and I'm grateful for your support.
Of course. And don't hesitate to talk to me or anyone else you trust if you need guidance or just someone to bounce ideas off of.
I won't. Thanks again, Dad.
Anytime, honey. Love you.
Love you too, Dad. Hi, Dad. Can we talk about my career path?
Of course, I'm always happy to talk about that with you. What's on your mind?
Well, I've been thinking a lot about what I want to do with my life, and I'm feeling really torn between two different fields:
Okay, what are the fields?
marketing and healthcare. On the one hand, I love the idea of being creative and coming up with ideas to help a company grow. But on the other hand, I feel like healthcare is a field where I could really make a difference in people's lives.
Those are two very different fields, but both are great options. What specifically interests you about marketing and advertising?
I like the idea of being able to think outside the box and come up with creative solutions to problems. I'm also really interested in how businesses can use technology and social media to connect with their customers.
That's great. And what draws you to healthcare?
I think it's just the idea of being able to help people when they're in need. It's a field where you can really make a difference in someone's life.
That's a very noble goal. Have you done any research on what kinds of jobs are available in these fields?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of reading and looking up different job descriptions. There are a lot of different options out there, but I'm not sure which one is the right fit for me.
Have you talked to anyone who works in these fields to get their perspectives?
Yeah, I've spoken to a few people. Some of them really love what they do, while others have told me it's a lot more difficult than they expected.
That's good that you're doing your research. Ultimately, you have to decide what's most important to you and what you're most passionate about.
I know, but it's really hard. I don't want to make the wrong choice and end up unhappy with my career.
I understand. But it's also important to remember that your career path doesn't have to be set in stone. You can always change your mind later on if you find that a different field is more fulfilling.
I know, but I also don't want to waste time and money going down a path that isn't right for me.
That's a valid concern. But there are ways to gain experience and test the waters without committing to a full-time job. For example, you could try doing an internship or volunteer work in both fields to see what they're really like.
That's a good idea. I've been thinking about doing some volunteer work at a hospital to see if healthcare is really what I want to do.
That's a great first step. And don't forget to talk to other people who have gone down those paths. They can give you valuable insight and advice.
I've been trying to do that, but it's hard to find people who are willing to share their experiences.
That's understandable. But don't be afraid to reach out to people on LinkedIn or through your school's alumni network. You might be surprised at how willing people are to help.
That's a good point. I think I'll start doing that.
And don't forget to trust your gut. Ultimately, you have to make a decision that feels right for you.
Yeah, I know. It's just hard because both fields have their pros and cons.
That's true, but remember that there's no such thing as a perfect job. Every job has its challenges, and it's up to you to decide which challenges you're willing to face.
That's a good way to think about it. I guess I just need to keep researching and talking to people until I figure out what's best for me.
Exactly. And don't forget that your career path is just one part of your life. It's important to find a job that you enjoy and that makes you happy, but it's also important to have a good work-life balance and pursue your other interests and passions.
That's a good point. I've been so focused on my career lately that I haven't been thinking about other parts of my life.
It's easy to get caught up in your career, especially when you're just starting out. But remember that there's more to life than just work. Make sure you take time for yourself and for the people and activities that you love.
Thanks, Dad. That's really good advice.
Anytime, kiddo. I just want you to be happy and fulfilled in whatever you choose to do.
I know, and I appreciate your support. I think I have a lot to think about, but I'm feeling a little more confident about my decision now.
That's great to hear. And remember, no matter what you choose, I'll always be here to support you.
Thanks, Dad. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Now, let's go get some ice cream and take a break from all this career talk.
Yes, please. Hi, Dad. Can we talk about my future career plans?
Of course, sweetie. What's on your mind?
Well, I've been thinking about different careers, and I'm not sure which one is the right fit for me.
That's a common problem. What are some of the careers you're considering?
I've thought about becoming a teacher, a nurse, or a graphic designer.
Those are all great options. What interests you about each of them?
Well, I like the idea of teaching because I love working with kids and helping them learn. Nursing seems like a really rewarding career because I could help people who are sick or injured. And graphic design sounds really creative and fun.
Those are all good reasons to consider those careers. Have you done any research on what education or training is required for each of those jobs?
Yes, I've looked into it a bit. I know that teaching requires a degree in education, nursing requires a nursing degree, and graphic design requires a degree in graphic design or a related field.
Okay, that's a good start. Have you talked to anyone who works in those fields to get a better idea of what the job is like on a day-to-day basis?
Not yet, but I was thinking about doing some job shadowing or informational interviews with people who work in those careers.
That's a great idea. It will give you a chance to see what the work is really like and ask questions of people who have experience in those fields.
Yeah, I think it will be really helpful. But I'm still not sure which career is the best fit for me.
That's okay. You don't have to decide right now. You have time to explore your options and figure out what you're really passionate about.
Thanks, Dad. I feel a lot better knowing that I don't have to have everything figured out right away.
Of course, sweetie. Remember, it's important to find a career that you enjoy and that will give you a sense of fulfillment and purpose.
I will, Dad. Thanks for talking with me about this.
Anytime, sweetie. I'm here to support you and help you make the best decisions for your future.